Good evening, folks. My name is Thomas Pence. I am a public information officer here with Great Basin Team 3. We're going to try and keep our public meeting tonight down to 1 hour. Please hold any questions until the end. We will have an open period for questions at that time. If you don't want to ask a question in front of the group, feel free to hold it until the end. We will be around to answer any additional questions. Before we begin, I'll hit you with a couple stats. We're currently at 73,721 acres, 97% contained, and 198 personnel. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to John with the weather.
Okay, so John Pelton is the meteorologist here working with the team. Of course, we've had Dave as a trainee, and he's done some great job for us, great presentations over the past couple meetings. We had the dry weather continued, after last time we met, and with a ridge in place, but that started to weaken, and its grip on our weather's weekend. So now, really through the start of the weekend, in through Saturday in particular, we're going to have scattered showers and storms across the area, particularly each afternoon and evening, and with cooler temperatures, with a more moist pattern in place, and a pretty good shot at actually seeing maybe a wetting rain in that. Now, one of the things that is a concern in through Saturday would be locally heavy rainfall, particularly from, if storms were able to hit areas that were particularly burned hard. So that's kind of the main weather concern going through the next couple of days with those, like I said, with those scattered showers and storms. The chances of those peak Friday and Saturday, but so tomorrow's kind of in between, getting 40 or 50% coverage of that across the area and what we had today. On the other side, there was some locally heavy rainfall, probably neighborhood of a third of an inch that fell and led to some rises on the other side of the fire there over around the Burville area. So that just kind of shows the potential that we have with that. And once we move through the weekend, chances wane on Sunday, as you can see on the graphic up there. And then as we work through the early to middle part of next week, it looks like pretty good chance of dry weather, gradual warming, but not as warm as what we had experienced earlier in the week with that. And then sometime as we get toward the middle of the latter part of next week, just looking a little bit further out, chances of rain may get back into the picture, and also maybe a little bit of windy conditions in the middle of next week as well. Looking in the 6 to 10 day period for our area, fire area, the precipitation probabilities, basically that could go either way with that, but warmer than average temperatures kind of to end next week. And that's really all I had of the graphics I was going to use. I brought some other stuff if there are further questions, but that's the end of my report.
Dan Cather, operations. So a couple things that has been mentioned. A little bit of moisture. Okay, so there's a little bit of moisture, isolated pockets. We have had a little bit of a debris flow over by Burville. It didn't come into Burville, but it was up on the side of the hill. Not much rain. Okay, so that's one of the things, with the fire and it's gone through and it's burned everything. There's not vegetation to hold the soil back. Okay. And one of the things we've been talking about, let's go to the suppression map. Thank you. And zoom in on that for me, please. That's sort of hard to see, but that will work. As an example, I'll talk about Monroe Canyon. So Monroe Canyon, we got the graders up in Monroe Canyon with water tenders. They're trying to work the roads. So we're going to keep Monroe Canyon closed for a little bit so we can get those roads taken care of. They're going to work across the top and then work the primary routes. We still have heavy equipment inside here, and the heavy equipment's working this piece between Elk Country and Big Lake. So the road right through here. We're going to have some equipment in there for a little bit, probably the next 6 to 7 days to finish the hazard tree reduction. We're not getting we're not going to get every tree. Okay, we're eliminating the trees that we can identify, but we get this rain. And those trees are already weakened, and we're seeing the stuff that we're already, we're getting the stuff that we can see. But now you get some moisture, you get some wind, and you're going to get different trees that are going to come down. That's one of the things that we worry about. We're trying to eliminate the hazards that we're seeing. We're not going to eliminate every hazard. So as you repopulate and venture out onto the forest, one of the cautions I want to give you is there's going to be hazards. Okay, we've tried to mitigate the hazards along the main corridors, mitigate the hazards that we can find around the private end holdings, the structures, the roads going into your guys' private properties. Um, but there's so many hazards, trees that still could come down. Along with that, we get any moisture, and then we get stuff that's coming off the side of the mountain. So we might have debris flows. So I want to give you guys caution. You know, when you're traveling up in there, prepare yourself. You might get in there, and maybe we get a rainstorm and a debris flow. You might not come out for a day, you know, for a little bit of time. So make sure you have food and water, a chainsaw to cut yourself in and out. Okay. Um, those are just some of the byproducts from the fire. With the equipment that's been working in there, we've gone through and we've done a tremendous amount of line miles of worth of line and work. I want to, if I remember my statistics, it was like there's 237 miles worth of some type of line. That's dozer line, hand line, utilizing the roads to stop the fire or to try to hold the fire. And we've been going through and reworking those areas, making sure we're trying to return those lines back to its natural state as close as we can. Some of those lines we've pulled back, the debris, make sure it's not, a scar on the landscape, and then reseeded some areas along with that. So we got resource advisors. Sometimes you'll be referred to as reads, but they're resource advisors that are working really close with our resources on the ground to make sure we're trying to return the land as close as we can. What we've destroyed. I won't say destroyed. We disrupted with the mechanical equipment, hand line, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening in here, but we're trying to get it back to as close to normal for everyone to be able to venture back into to your properties. And whenever the force decides to lift the restrictions, that people will be able to go back and utilize the ground as needed. I'm not going to take any of the thunder away from Bill with talking about the repopulation and what we're going to do next. But that's one of the things I want to, just stress to you. Go out there, and when you're recreating or going by your properties and stuff, just make sure you're safe. Be heads up with the area and where you're at. That the fire did some areas it did some good, and some areas it did some really bad devastation. And so you got trees that could come down, you got rocks that could come down. There's hazards out there. We can't mitigate them all. And we're trying to make sure, we're giving you guys a safe corridor, a safe access back to your properties. But there's a lot of stuff in there. So I want you to prepare yourselves when you guys do re-enter. We had a flight go over the fire. It's called an IR flight, infrared flight, a couple days ago. And the fire has not moved outside of its current footprint, and that current footprint's been there since we came back on incident. So we're on day 12, and the fire has remained within that footprint. So that means there's been no growth, which is really good. Number two, there is some heat, but it's all interior. So it might be stuff 1 or 2 miles inside. It could be a big heavy log. It could be a couple big stumps that are burning. Some of that stuff, because of the amount of fuel that was there, it's going to take a season-ending event to put it out. That, in other words, that would be rain, a lot of rain or a lot of snow to put that out. We're not going to send people all the way down into the black a couple miles to go put out a smoke. It's not going to go anywhere, but we got to look at, what kind of exposure we're going to put on that individual. Other trees coming down, is it safe for them to go down in there? So when you guys do go in there, you might see some heat interior in the middle of the fire, middle of that fire's lost term there. In the fire perimeter. Thank you. Within the fire perimeter. Okay. If you feel like it's a concern, then make sure you call and someone will come out and investigate it. But we're still going to keep resources on scene for the next week, probably maybe 2 weeks. I'm not sure, but our tenure is done on Friday night. We'll be turning it over to the forest. and there's resources that are going to be behind. There's still going to be equipment working in here. So this area right here, from Elk Country up to Big Lake, that is going to be, there's going to be equipment in there. So the road's going to be closed in there so we can get that road open. We're trying to reduce trying to mitigate the hazard trees that are in there. There's another piece a little bit lower down by Marysville Peak. There's going to be some heavy equipment in there, rehabbing some dozer line. So we're still going to have some pieces of equipment in there, equipment moving around, and also the dozers and water tenders. They're trying to, make sure those roads are taken care of, because we're tearing those roads up with the heavy equipment and all the miles of the vehicles driving back and forth on them for the suppression activities. So we still have some cleanup to do. And I want to thank you guys for being patient with us to get that cleanup done. And that cleanup also includes, like the hazard trees. We're trying, the hazards. I keep talking about the hazards because that's what's got me worried is the hazards. We're not going to eliminate them all, but we're trying our best to, allow a clean access back into your property. If there's any questions, I'll take them at the end. Thanks.
Bill Toffer, Sevier County. So we are lifting the evacuation orders for the Big Lake Long Flat Borders area on Friday morning. So I sent out messages to everybody I had phone numbers for. So if you didn't get a message, come by Friday morning, have your parcel number, and then you'll get your 2 placards for your parcel for those. As he was saying, Elk Country is going to be into next week. We're hoping early next week, but we'll see how that goes up there to get them back into Elk Country area. The other part of it is, as this starts to wind down, just be careful while you're in there. When the Forest Service, drops the closures, things like that, be careful in there. And like you said, carry a chainsaw with you going in and out, especially if you're not on the main roads. Carry a chainsaw with you because you may have to cut your way in or cut your way out. So, all right. So other than that, that's about all we have for the sheriff's office.
Thanks, Bill. Josh Winkler, Agency Administrator for the Bureau of Land Management. So I get to manage the lowlands. I know you all want to hear about the highlands up there and how to get back home, but we'll talk about the things that we've got in store for the fall. First off, I want to say thanks to all my fellow agency administrators for helping get through this process. And this isn't the end for us. We've still got a lot of work ahead of us. I want to say thanks to the Sheriff's Department for working with us, keeping y'all safe, keeping the public safe during this incident and the time that we've had. I want to say thanks to Team 3. You guys have been great to work with. Appreciate it. So with that, this fall we're looking at doing some reseeding on the lowland. That's kind of what we've got to do. So we're looking at, we won't do more closures. Our BLM administered lands are opened for public use and stuff like that. But we will be out flying some seed in later on this fall, using some heavy equipment to basically we get a big chain and we kind of drag it behind, and it helps reseed for soil stability and a bunch of other things. So that's kind of what we've got going in the whole process of this. It is going to take some time. So I know a lot of folks are interested in some of that going on and the time it takes, which can be multiple years for it to come back to a healthy environment. With being on the lowland, we have a lot of flooding opportunities that the water comes off the top end. So as you're working your way up to the top end, always be aware of that. So you may get up on top, but your egress where you're coming back down, keep that in mind. Water flows downhill, and we have seen some of our roads, Saul's Meadow roads, flooded out earlier, about a month ago, with a little bit of water coming down Rock Canyon and stuff like that. So if that's your way you get in, your way you get out, make sure you got a different alternative to get out, or take some time. Our dirt up here, if you just wait a while, sometimes it dries out. So as you go play on your lands, which we encourage you to do, just keep that in mind. If you have any questions, we're around. Just come down to the office and we'll try to answer them the best we can. Thanks.
So I'm Thomas Peterson, State of Utah Agency Administrator. So I just want to say thanks to you guys. I was in Wendy's today and I ran into a friend that was at Home Depot, and she ran into somebody from Oregon that was on the fire, and she asked him how things were going, and he told her that this is the best community he has fought fire in. He said that the people were more appreciative than anywhere else he's ever been, and that you guys have been absolutely amazing. So I want to say thank you to you guys. The other thing I'd like to say is as we move forward with some of your private properties and stuff, you guys will reach out to us. We're trying to connect the private landowners with some of the private industry as far as logging and sawmills and different things like that. And try, if you guys are interested in connecting those dots, to try and get some of your properties taken care of if you're interested. So our forester is going to be taking that on. If you guys would reach out to us, you're welcome to come by our office anytime, the DNR office over by the airport, and get more information there. The other thing is these guys talked about, as you re-enter those properties, really pay attention. My biggest fear is kids venturing out. Take a good look at those hazards. Those trees can come down anytime, and there's no way we can mitigate them all. So as you guys enter those properties, just be careful, just be safe. And then I wanted to turn my time over to Brian Terry. He's really the one that supports you guys behind the scenes, so I'll let him introduce himself. And
All right, my name's Brian Terry. Work for Tom, Forestry, Fire, and State Lands. Run the county fire warden. Probably talked with a lot of you, or most of you. As the team transitions and leaves and the resources are going away, I will be one of those that don't go away. We'll be around. We'll be on the mountain. We're here to help you guys. Assigned to work with those guys on your private properties and on your land. So we will still be here, as will a handful of other local forest and BLM people. The same people that were here the day it started are still going to be here the day it ends, and that's how it should be. So we'd love to interact with you, answer your questions, and help you out however we can.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Engelhardt. I am the Agency Administrator Trainee for the U.S. Forest Service. I'm also the District Ranger over in Moab, Utah, another great community in rural Utah. I just wanted to echo what Tom said over there. This has been just a really great community to live in the last couple of weeks, and to experience fighting this fire, dealing with the downstream effects, so to speak, of a long fight. This is now 48 days, 59, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's been a long while, and your patience and your kindness and your grace shows up every day, not just for our agencies and our cooperation here, but for our firefighters, and it does make a huge difference. And so you guys were in this with us, and we didn't get to choose it. We were given this, and the way you've reacted to that is just absolutely stellar. I did want to just also say that, I've worked a lot in southeastern Utah, but this part of Utah, it's the first time I've stepped in and met a lot of your local leadership, your cooperators, your power company folks, your sheriff's office. And well, as a citizen of Utah myself, I'm just absolutely astounded at how awesome you all have been represented in the cooperating agency groups, in the agency administrator groups. And it's been just a great experience working with your local leadership, whether that be at your municipal level, your county level, and of course your state resources as well. It's been an honor to work together, to make decisions together in line with each other, to have discussions together, to make sure we were taking care of these communities in a way that connected with you all. I did want to talk just a little bit about the forest closure order. As of right now, the closure order's been in place for quite some time. We are anticipating to lift that closure order or reduce that closure order down to about the fire perimeter boundary And if we could bring a map up too, just to make sure we have that visual for everybody, as close to that fire perimeter boundary as possible by Saturday morning, somewhere in that neighborhood this weekend. Be able to let folks up enjoying the mountain again, poking back into that area of once was closed, and getting up there and enjoying the mountain and the activities that you all enjoy as well. We also anticipate that by sometime next week, whether it's early, mid, late, not quite sure, but we do anticipate next week lifting the closure order entirely on forest system lands. So that's a long wait for a lot of you, and it's something we've been looking at every day since I got here to get to that point where we can, remove those closure orders and allow folks to move back into those areas and enjoy the forest. I also wanted to mention that by end of shift tomorrow, we do anticipate calling this fire 100% contained. And so again, that's just, we've been in the 90s since I got here. It's a lot of work that's left out there. There are still risks. There are still hazards out there. There are still people on this incident operating machinery up there. But we are ready to call it 100% contained at this point in time. And that's a win for us all. And I think I would just want to acknowledge that our firefighters, not just federal firefighters, not just state firefighters, county, volunteer fire departments, our firefighters have been through a heck of a fight here, and they've done it all together, and it's been impressive to watch and learn from the professionalism of those firefighters as they've done just a great job getting after this. And so I think with that in mind, I'm going to pass it off for some remarks from our incident commander, Brent Waters.
Thanks, Michael. Brett Waters, IC of Great Basin Team 3. And I want to also express our appreciation for your continued support, showing up at our meetings, asking questions, and allowing us to do what we can do to get you back into your property and into the areas where you love your mountain and be able to recreate. It's been, we're actually glad that we got to come back. We were here in the beginning and we saw what happened. It's nice to be able to have a whole different perspective, not have the smoke, and be able to put this back to normal as much as we possibly can. So we were actually really looking forward to having this opportunity to do it. And we've made a lot of progress just in the last 2 weeks that we've been here. A ton of repair work has been done. We know we're going to have water. We're going to have hopefully not a January thaw, but we know that could happen. We know we're going to have the snow runoff, and all that's going to cause some more challenges. So we've put things back into as good a shape as possible to help manage that heavy runoff or big rainstorm like we've been catching every now and then. So it's been said a lot about these trees, which if they've lost the vegetation around the roots, they're weakened. And what you'll hear when you go up to your cabins or when you're up there with your four-wheelers is you're going to hear crashing, and that's these trees coming down. And whether it be the vegetation or they've been actually attacked by the fire itself and they're fire weakened. And everybody said, be careful, please. Absolutely. This happens all the time, and it's going to be a long time. Rain, wind, snow. That's what's going to do it. So we appreciate your support, your cooperation, your diligence with us, being allowed to come back and put things as good back to normal, your new normal as possible. And we hope that we won't have to host another incident management team for a really long time. But we can hopefully come back and just recreate. But thank you all again for a fantastic community to work with.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you all for coming to our final community meeting. We're going to turn the time over to you to ask us some questions and ask our panel here. We do have some online members in the audience here, so please wait until you do have a microphone before you start asking your question. And with that, we'll turn it over to you. Do we have any questions online? Please wait until you have a microphone really fast.
First thing I'd like to say is you guys are awesome, all of you. We really appreciate you, and we know you've saved a lot of cabins and a lot of recreation and some other things. I just have a question about this, the situation where you've taken a lot of these snags trees, it's kind of close to the roads and put them in piles. Some way that some of the folks, I know some people from smaller communities, older folks, that they could use firewood. And I just wonder if that would be opened at some time to where they could come in and use some of that, because unlimited supply there. It'd be a little dirty to use, but there's a lot of good fuel in there.
That's a great question, and thanks for thinking of those in your community that rely on fuel source for heat, especially during long winter months. Absolutely. As we begin to lift the closure orders on forest system lands, we are planning on creating some and putting out some public information for folks to acquire wood permits to come and get that wood. There is a significant amount of wood decked on the side of the road along many of the main corridors, very easily acquirable. Those wood permits will be available through the local forest office. $20 for 4 cords of wood, so a significant amount of wood for quite a small bit of price. And then that wood is already decked on the side of the road. They're not exactly cut into rounds yet, but they are very easily acquirable, and it'd be very, very simple to fill a few pickup trucks. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question.
We do. For the Forest Service, gentlemen, your intention Saturday morning to open up the perimeter of the fire area. Did I understand that right?
Yes, that's correct. So it's not going to be exactly the fire perimeter boundary. We don't have a final boundary fixed yet for when that order modification will come in. But we do have some drafts, and they're very, very close to the fire perimeter boundary. And we do anticipate that being modified on Saturday morning.
So would that be all access points like Greenwich, Casherm, Monroe Canyon, Marysville Dry Creek, all the access points?
I think we do need to leave a little wiggle room, and maybe I'll ask Jason Kling to come on up here, the local district ranger, to comment.
Yes. Ooh, that's loud. Yeah, so we do anticipate it shrinking down to, like Michael was saying, pretty close to the fire perimeter, with one small exception, and that is the Monroe Canyon piece. We've still got some work going on that road there, and then flooding concerns and Monrovian. And so, yeah, the one area that doesn't necessarily follow the fire perimeter is going to be on that Monroe Canyon side. But yeah, it's going to get quite a bit smaller. So yeah, you'll be able to access it from Greenwich, Cusharam, and even up out of Glenwood, and be able to go up a ways and enjoy the lower elevation areas of the National Forest. And then hopefully here sometime next week, we'll be able to just lift the closure entirely, and then folks can go where they want.
So I believe you said you anticipated Saturday morning. I foresee a parade of vehicles waiting for that gate to open. Any idea what the timing of that's going to be? Because sometimes it's an hour to get to the Greenwich Road, for example.
Yeah, so the closure will likely change at like midnight, Friday night, midnight. And so then when people want to get up Saturday morning at 0500, 0600, 0700, whatever time they want to get up, then those areas would be open.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next question. All right, with that, we're going to end the online part of our broadcast. Thank you for coming to our final community meeting. We will be around to answer any questions at the end here. So thank you and have a good night.